Hi guys. So I have a little manifestation success story I wanted to share. And I'm feeling really good about it. So that's why I have this big cheesy grin. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to, but I can't help it. So I have a backtrack story that I want to share with you guys, and kind of share it and then kind of bring it all back home. So here's the funny thing. So what some of you guys don't know is that I always had the gift of life, okay? Always had the gift of life in my hands, always. Hi, Carrie. And so I know this because when I was younger, I don't know what happened, but I've always been around, and somehow people that weren't able to conceive children were able to conceive children. And so I noticed it. It became something that became a byproduct of just observing my surroundings and notice how my experience had turned into that. And so, as you know, I've always accepted the impossible because my life has always been a testimony to that. And so when I was younger and I didn't understand what was happening around me, I was trying to make sense of the impossible because it kept happening and I was witnessing it. And it would only happen when I was around. And I went to a psychic person because I was asking at that time someone who apparently could see into the Akash. And at the time, I didn't understand everybody as you pushed out. You got to understand, I was a 20-year-old kid. And I had said to her, I don't know what this is called, but I have the ability in my presence, women become fertile and they're able to have kids. I don't know what it is. If they've been trying, as long as everything is working, and if they're around me, the impossible can happen, or the so-called impossible, or the less likely. It's not an issue for me. And I said, I have this gift of life. I've always had it. And what was cool is, now that I can look at it in hindsight, I can have a better understanding of that in that time. But what was cool about that experience was that there was a woman that overheard my conversation and came up to me and she said, I have the same gift. And I said, what do you call it? Because we didn't know. I said, all I can tell you, and she says this, she was like, I tend to attract women who have trouble conceiving. And but once they're around me, for whatever reason, they can conceive. I don't know what it is about our presence. I don't know what it is about this, but I have it too. And so we had this weird moment where I kind of even hugged her, even though I had no idea who she was, because she, in that moment, helped me understand that I wasn't alone and that there were others in the world that were like me. Now in hindsight, I can tell you, since everybody as you pushed out, that understanding was visible to me, and that person was serving as my mirror to show me of what I was actually capable of. I just didn't understand, and since I didn't understand it as me, that woman had to appear as confirmation so that I could see myself in the moment. It's another cool way of seeing it. Okay, anyway, I continue with my story. I have always had this ability, and so I used to work in an office, and I love my job, and you have to understand now in hindsight, I understand why I was there in so many more dimensions than originally, right? And I loved my job because I was able to help people, and that's what I wanted to do. I had no idea that in addition to being there, because of this gift, in my office, a lot of the women that were working there were having trouble conceiving, and because I was there, they all had children. I even declared some of them before they even knew they were pregnant. I saw them into existence. It's kind of the coolest thing ever. But my point is that I've always had this gift. And so years later, I can give you another example. A friend of mine that I went to school with, and we've known each other since we were 5 years old. And she confided in me that she was having trouble with this. And I said, you've been around me. You'll have a kid before you know it. Trust me. I already see him. Okay? And she kind of smiled or whatever. But about exactly 3 months later, she conceived a little boy, and had a son, and I was right. So I've always had this. Another example of this, I can only give you my life as examples, so I can tell you how this is cool. My sister-in-law I told my story to my sister-in-law. I didn't yet live in North Carolina. I was just visiting at the time. And she said, oh my gosh, she was like, I have someone I work with. She was like, she wants a child so bad. She's like, Sin, oh my God. She was like, you know how we women are. We stand around and we talk about our stretch marks and how we wish we could work out and how after having kids what we look like. And, you know, we're girls cackling, right? We're just a couple of hens cackling. And she'll come up and really, really sad, and she'll say things like, I'd give anything to have some stretch marks, you know, and suddenly they're all like, you know, are humbled by the fact that, you know, they all are complaining about the things that come along with childbirth. And here she could care less about any of those things because she wants a child more than anything. And so she tells me this story, and I said, just got to introduce her to me. After she's introduced to me, she'll have a child. And my sister-in-law was like, that's a plan. We have to figure it out the next time you're here. And I was like, okay. So that Sunday, I think we went to a flea market, Saturday, I don't know. We went to a flea market as I was still visiting. And we go to these like pop-up flea markets in North Carolina, and we run into her, and she said, Sin, oh my God, this is the lady I needed you to meet. So obviously there are no accidents. I had to cross her path, right? And sure enough, she now has a little boy. And I've always had this gift, is what I'm trying to say. It's not a mystery. So today, this is so good, you guys. Today, my friend gets a call. God, I'm so moved. Okay, my friend gets a call, and she's seeing a fertility doctor because she's a little bit older and she still wants to have a baby. And I'm sitting here and I've been teaching her the law. And so one of the things that we put into practice is I asked her, you know, to test her out. I said, okay, are you holding your baby at night? And the smile that came across her face, it was instant, it was bright, and it was beautiful. And she said, yes, I do. And I knew in that moment that she would conceive a child. It wasn't even a question. I just knew by the look on her face that she was practicing the law. But, you know, she's got to go through the motions and go talk to the doctor and do all of these things. So she goes through this test, and she's, you know, and she confides in me, and she says, Sin, I really need you to pray for me. I need you to, like, do your juju, because I need this doctor to tell me that I can still conceive my own children, and that I don't want to use donor eggs. I just don't. And I was like, in the bag, no problem, you know. But give me a second, Mama. I'll be right there. Okay, I was gonna say, can you come to the monitor? I'm coming. And sorry, I got to go. Anyway, she has this conversation with this doctor, and the doctor wants to ask her what miraculous things she's doing differently. He's even asking to conform her birthday. He has no idea. He almost wants to use her as a case study, because basically the news that she got was the news that I expected her to get. And I know it's because she's applying the law. And so the reason that I'm sharing this news with you and all of you women is because I want you to know that if you are trying to conceive a child, and you, regardless of, you know, your age, if the odds are stacked against you, okay, and I understand how crazy circumstances can seem real, okay, but I need you guys to believe and understand that the more that you apply this understanding, that what you focus on the inside, the more you harness the power of your attention, the more you focus on creating that life inside of you. Let me remind you, ladies, that you have been able to conceive children without the aid of any man since the beginning. Okay? That means that you birthed your reality, the whole thing. Okay? And everything will line up perfectly for you, okay? As long as you harness the feeling, as long as you harness the feeling of that child in your arms, okay? That's when you defy the odds and you prove the law to yourself. I just happen to be someone who knows this, so it instantly manifests in my presence. I cannot help being who I am. My life has dictated this as my experience. Therefore, I know what I know because I know it, right? It's what I know. You all have to have this type of understanding in order to prove this to yourself. If this is the issue, if you're still trying to conceive children, you have to believe in God before a doctor. You have to believe in the power of your emotions to create that child. You have to believe that you are life itself. And you have to understand that you create it, not the circumstances out there. Circumstances be damned. Okay? You do. And by the way, that childhood friend of mine, supposedly her uterus had been flipped upside down from her last child, and it had been 8 years since she had been able to conceive. 8 or 9 years difference between the two kids. But because I was there, because we discussed it, because I know how it works, she has a son today. Okay? I can only tell you experience speaks wonders, but you have that ability. And if you are feeling right now as if, this is something that feels impossible, I need you to understand that it only feels impossible because that's where you're focusing your attention. That is not a disciplined mind. A disciplined mind creates from within, knows that it is, feels that reality in, and then knows that the rest of the world will conform. And then 3D will call you and make that phone call sound just like the doctor did for my friend, and ask her, what are you doing different? I think I need to study you. This is incredible. That's the type of news you want to hear, right? It's already conforming. You create that from within. So for ladies that are trying to conceive, I'm going to encourage you guys to hold your babies. Hold your babies before they're ever born. I hope this resonates. And God bless you guys. I just needed to share my news. Be life. Speak life. Just do it. I promise you, it will always conform on the outside. Always. Love you guys. Thanks for sharing with my news. This one's a good one, yeah? Love you. Bye-bye.